Hello everyone and welcome to the Game Shed with me, Mark, and in today's video I'm going to be doing a tutorial to show you how to install Bleemsync 1.1 fresh on your PlayStation Classic. Now, a couple of little things within this. I've done this previously in different ways during my testing, so there's a couple of steps that may look a little different, but I'll make sure to explain that as I go along. Now, Bleemsync, for those of you that don't know, allows you to soft mod your PlayStation Classic so that you can add extra games to your PlayStation Classic. Now, this has gone on a long journey from being just something that was on a USB stick straight into the front USB port, add a few games, you couldn't see the internal games, and then it got updated so that you could see the internal games, so the original games and the new ones you've added, and then they've added lots and lots of new features as we've gone along. I would suggest that you go to the Mod My Classic website, just search it on Google and look at the history of this. There's a lot that's gone on, but for today's video we're looking at 1.1, which is the brand new release that's come out, and in order to install it fresh, it's pretty straightforward. It's a lot easier than a lot of the other methods that we've seen previously, but I'm going to show you what's available in this release just quickly, so that you know what you're letting yourself in for. So not only can you add games just via a USB stick, but now with this release you're able to use OTG. Now, OTG allows you to use the power at the back of the console to power the USB stick. So previously the problem with the front USB stick is that it was power limited, and a lot of the newer USB sticks need more power than what that could provide. Using this OTG method, you can now plug in pretty much any USB into the OTG adapter, and then you can crack on and upload all your games to it. So there are a couple of different variants of these OTG adapters. There's one here which is a right angled one, or left angled depending on which one you get. This is the wrong one for the PlayStation Classic because it's the wrong angle. So I used this one with my Super Nintendo Classic. This is what I bought for my PlayStation Classic. It is a sort of octopus looking OTG adapter, and as you can see, it's got multiple ports. Now, the reason I bought this one was so that it's future proofed, so that if anything else becomes available that we can use on the PlayStation Classic, like a Wi-Fi dongle, or I don't know, some kind of Bluetooth dongle or something like that, then I've got these extra ports to use it. I will leave the decision to you as to what you buy, but I will put the link in the description below for this one. So at this stage I have an OTG adapter like this, I have a USB 3 stick, and I have a USB 2 stick. In order to do this install, you do need both of these USBs if you want to go to USB 3 and something more powerful, something with a lot more space, because the initial install still needs to happen in the front port of the PlayStation Classic. So make sure you've got a USB 2 that is compatible. I use the SanDisk Cruiser. I'll leave a link in the description below to that, and then any USB 3 or 3.1 stick after that. Okay, the other things they've added into this update is the updated compatibility with controllers, and then a new option for adding games. So the option for adding games is a transfer folder that you literally take a bin and queue file and you just put them in the transfer folder. That links together with the cover folder that you're going to add, and I'll show you how. And when you switch on the PlayStation Classic, then it will just transfer those games into the right place and put the right cover art, and it will put it within your carousel, so the normal stock UI. Very, very good way of doing things. It means you can do multiple games at a time, much easier than the previous methods. But if you're coming fresh into this, none of that matters, and this is how you do it. So the formats supported are bin and queue, which is pretty much the most obvious one. That's what most people will use. ISO, IMG, and PBP. PBP is a much smaller file size for these games, and in a lot of people's eyes, it's the best one to use. Moving down, there's Bleemsync's settings menu. When you open up Bleemsync, you'll see on the PlayStation Classic itself the option to press L1 to change some of the features. I will show you that later once we've got it installed. RetroArch. RetroArch is part of Bleemsync, so you can get to RetroArch from within Bleemsync. RetroArch allows you to play any game from pretty much any console. So if you wanted to play some Super Nintendo games, you wanted to play some Master System games, you wanted to play some arcade games, you can do it all through RetroArch. So that is a separate tutorial which I will do later down the line. I've done one previously for the older versions of Bleemsync, and they probably will still work, but there is RetroArch included in this tutorial, in this update. So you just need to do this, and then you can add the extra cores and the ROMs and everything later. Moving on, the custom application launchers for stock UI. This is on the stock carousel. So you know when you first boot up your PlayStation Classic when it's fresh and you have the games on a carousel and you scroll around them. Now this is giving you the ability to have extra icons in there to do extra things. What they've used it for right now is to launch RetroArch and to go back to the Bleemsync boot menu. So those are pretty useful. I like the idea of just loading straight to the stock carousel and then having RetroArch as an option in there rather than having to go to the Bleemsync menu. So I'll show you all of that when we get onto it. Finally, you've got the third-party controller support for the stock UI and a RetroArch update. So there's a bunch of good stuff in here. It's a great update. The guys have really excelled themselves, the Mod My Classic team. Great work. Comcom, brilliant. Everyone else that's been involved, fantastic. Very, very impressive. Right, so let's open up the web page that tells us how to do the install. I will put all these links below as always. So here we go. Install from fresh. Follow these instructions to set up a new USB with Bleemsync. A backup of your system will be created and your system's kernel will then be upgraded with one which includes OTG support. Download the zip package to your computer. I've already done that right here. Format a USB drive, USB 2 preferable. Right, that is the initial install USB, and label it Sony. So let's plug that into our PC and we will see that pop up. There we go. So as you can see, it's just labeled as USB F at the moment. So let's format that. So it needs to be formatted to FAT32 and we're going to label it as Sony. Make sure that's all uppercase. Press start on there, click OK. And once that's complete, you can click OK again. So let's close that. We now have a USB stick which is ready to go. Now open up that zip folder with the Bleemsync 1.1 install. And all you have to do is open up your USB on one side, the Bleemsync folder on the other, and copy those files across. It's that simple. Okay, once those files are copied across, take the USB 2 stick out of your PC and plug it into the front port of your PlayStation Classic. Now make sure to unplug the power before you do this, and then just take that USB stick and plug it into port 2 on the PlayStation Classic. So look, there you go, port 2. Plug the power in, wait for the light to come on, and I'm going to switch over onto the PlayStation right here. Okay, so once that power light's on, just power it on and wait for the hack to go through. So here we go, we have the PlayStation screen, standard stuff, and then it should go onto the Bleemsync screen. Here we go. Lovely. So this stage of the install does take some time, so bear with it. Don't think it's not working. Even if you see the blank Bleemsync screen, it does take quite a few minutes to happen. But there you go, look, the initial hack is now completed. That's the screen we wanted to see. The PlayStation Classic light will turn off and then come back on. So now that that stage is complete, as you can see in the instructions here, it says once the console is powered off and you see an orange LED light, remove your USB stick and plug it into the computer. Right, so let's do that. Let's put the USB into the PC and do what it says to do next. Create a backup of your console's backup files, copy them somewhere safe. Okay, so the backup is within the Bleemsync folder. You'll see a backup folder here. So let's copy that and put it somewhere safe. So I've done that. I've got a safe folder on my PC that I will keep as my backup folder. I'll probably put it on a USB stick as well. It's really important that you keep this safe. You put it somewhere safe that you remember where it is, because it's unique and can only be used on a console that created them. There you go. Do not delete these files from the USB drive. Very, very important. The next step you want to do is to download this custom kernel. This is what enables the OTG support. So click on the link. I will put it all in the description below, and you will end up with this lboot.epd file. So let's put that onto our update folder in here. So copy that to the update folder, and then finally take the USB stick out and put it back into the PlayStation Classic in the front port. Turn the power on, it should load up. So let's let this finish, and then you'll be on your way to be adding all the other bits and pieces that you want to add. So this is what you see, update in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then as you can see on the PlayStation, it starts flashing. sometimes this can take quite a while, so don't worry if that flashing goes on for like 3 or 4 minutes. It is safe to let it finish. Just make sure you let it finish. Once that's finished, you can see it's gone back to the orange light, and we can then turn the PlayStation Classic on and make sure we get to the main Bleemsync menu. So there we go, we got Bleemsync, and it should just run through the basic checks. This is obviously first install, so it's going to be a bit slower than normal. And it scans the transfer directory for games, mounts files, sets up themes, etc. It does all that before it gets you to here. Okay, so we are at the Bleemsync menu. Let's now have a look at what Bleemsync looks like. So in Bleemsync 1.1, we've got this L1 settings option at the top here. So if I press L1, you'll get all these different settings. So boot disable health, false. There's a health warning that comes up when you boot into the stock user interface, so I always turn that off because it's a bit annoying. Boot quick basically shortens the initial Sony Entertainment screen that comes up right at the beginning. I'm not a massive fan of this because it kind of still plays a bit of it, so it's not really worth turning that off. Boot splash is the initial splash screen that you get. It's probably worth just leaving that on. Then you've got boot target stock BM. So if you want to get to that Bleemsync menu that we just saw where it shows RetroArch and Bleemsync, you have to leave that as true. If you change it to either of the others, you'll either boot directly into RetroArch if you do the RA one, or you'll boot directly into the stock UI if you choose the UI version. Moving down, you've got generate external and internal game playlist. This is for RetroArch and actually generates playlists within RetroArch for the PlayStation games that are on the console or the PlayStation games that you've added via the USB. So yeah, just leave those as true, and on and on. Link eMMC and USB. This means you can see the stock 20 games plus the extra games you've added. Alphabetize means put them in A to Z order. Override theme music. I mean, feel free to play with these. None of these really there's much point in me going through. It's pretty obvious what they are. But then at the bottom you get selected themes, stock or mod my classic. I'm just going to leave it as stock. Click save, and then are you sure you want to overwrite the old settings? Console will shut down. Yes. Once that shuts down, just power it on again by pressing the power button on the PlayStation Classic, and you will come through back to the original menu, but with those little tweaks that you've just done set on the PlayStation Classic. Okay, so there you go. That is the Bleemsync menu. When I click on Bleemsync, it will take me to the stock user interface, the carousel, and hopefully we won't see that message. Yes, so the health message has gone, and we can now see our 20 built-in games. There is now a option to go back to the boot menu from here, which will take you back to that Bleemsync menu, or you can go straight into RetroArch from here. Now, the bit on the end of this video that I'll do is I'll just add a game to this USB and show you how that transfer tool works, and I'll also show you how the covers work. So let's turn off the PlayStation Classic at this point, take the USB 2 out of the PlayStation Classic and put it into our PC. Now it's up to you completely as to whether you continue using this USB or whether you use your faster USB 3. It's very simple to use the USB 3 at this stage. You literally just copy everything off of this USB 2 onto the USB 3. So I'm going to do that right now because it makes it a lot quicker for me to show you in the video. So this is my USB 3 that I'm plugging in now, and as you can see it's empty, ready to go. So all you have to do at this stage is format the USB 3 or 3.1 or whatever you've got, and make sure to call it Sony. Now with this you can now use the file system exFAT, which will make it a lot better performing and much quicker, and that's it. So just click start, format that USB drive, wait for it to open up again, and then you can see your two USB drives side by side. Okay, so from the USB 2 we literally just highlight everything, copy it and paste it into the USB 3 drive, and then we can move on. Right, so now that we've got the USB 3 set up, you can take that USB 2 out, the original one, and put it on the side. That means you won't get confused by anything, or you won't use the wrong USB moving forward. So now on the USB 3 we want to transfer just a couple of games so that you can see how the games look on the console. So let's do that now. I'm just going to grab, I've already got it open on Spyro, so let's chuck Spyro on there. And because it's USB 3 you can see how quick it is to copy. I'm going to copy over Klonoa as well. Okay. So in order for these games to link up with the cover art that I mentioned previously, you also need to copy the cover art onto the USB 3. So there is a web page you need to go to download the right cover art. I've downloaded the regional case thumbnails. I prefer that look because it links it up. If you've put an NTSC game on there, it will make the cover art correct. If you put a PAL game on there, it will make the cover art correct. Okay, so I've downloaded those already, so let's open that up. Once you've downloaded, it looks a bit like this. So you can see in there's a folder called covers. All you need to do is go back to the root of your USB, click on Bleemsync, opt, and then PSC transfer tools, and you'll see a covers folder in there. Copy the covers folder over onto the USB 3. Now this will take some time because there's about 9,500 files in there, so no matter how quick this could be, it's going to take time because there's a lot of files, so just bear with it. Okay, finally the covers are moved over onto our USB. That took a while, but it's fine. We now have the covers, we have a couple of games in our transfer folder, and everything is ready to go. So what we can do with our USB 3, which is beautiful at this stage, is take it out of our PC and put it into the OTG adapter. So for those of you that are wondering which one to buy, there's loads of them out there, so have a look around on Amazon and the like and just order yourself one. Like I said, I'll leave the link in the description to this one below, and another one is the right angled. I'll leave a link to that as well. So at this stage I've got the USB 3 in there. I'm ready to go. So let's unplug the power from the USB, that's the micro USB, put it into the female micro USB on the OTG adapter. Whoop, that way round. So you've got power going in, you've got a USB, and then at the top you've got your micro USB ready. Grab your PlayStation, plug it into the back port for the power, and wait for the light to come on. At this stage, let's switch over onto our PlayStation Classic here, turn the power on, and we'll watch it come on, and hopefully have our new games. Right, so now we're at the Bleemsync screen. Hopefully it will take that from the back. Yes, it will. Look at that, setting up games. It was a lot quicker now using that USB 3 and the OTG adapter. So let's grab our controller and let's have a look at our games that I've put on here. Here we go. That was a lot quicker as well. I think everything will be a lot quicker now. You'll notice that quite clearly. So what did I put on here? I put Klonoa. There you go. There's Klonoa, daughter Phantomile on there, and what else did I put on? I put on Spyro Year of the Dragon. Look at that, beautiful. So we've got a couple of games, we've got OTG working. Let's open up a game and just make sure it works. Okay, so this is Klonoa running off the USB 3 stick via OTG adapter, and oh my god, it's fantastic. So for those of you that haven't played Klonoa before, definitely give it a go as part of this because it's fantastic. I'm trying to remember how to play it now. Anyway, this is Klonoa. I think I've shown you enough. It works a treat. Look at that. So I'm going to press reset on the PlayStation Classic, and that should take us back to the initial screen. There you go, and we have ourselves a resume point. You can actually save on the memory card as well. But there you go, PlayStation Classic using Bleemsync 1.1, giving you OTG support plus all the other features, including that updated RetroArch and the icons from our menu and all that other lovely stuff. So that's it. Hopefully if you've got to this stage with me, then you are ready to go. You can chuck as many games on there as you want. If you've got an upgraded USB stick, you can fill it, go crazy. But feel free to look at our other videos to see how to do the RetroArch stuff and other bits and pieces. I will cover that all separately. So that's it for today. That is the video. Get you all up and running with Bleemsync 1.1. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of this kind of stuff, and hit the like button if this video has been useful, and feel free to drop us a comment below. If you've got any problems at all, we will try and get round to answering them. One final thing before I go is that we have lots of social media avenues, including Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and we have a website. We would love it if you'd come and follow us on those platforms. I do tend to drop out little teasers here and there, as I've mentioned in previous videos. I did drop a teaser for this Bleemsync 1.1 install, for instance. So yeah, drop over onto our Twitter account, follow us, drop over onto our Instagram and follow us. I post up lots of random stuff on there. So thank you again, much appreciated that you came along and used my video for your tutorial. I will see you next time.